All right. Thanks for joining us for the Make Guitar podcast. It is the 14th of November as we're recording this. And today we're going to talk about uh, synthesizers and some other cool stuff. Um, how's that sound?
Yeah,
How you
sounds
doing?
great.
How you doing, Mitch?
I think I'm doing pretty good, Kirk. You
Good,
know,
good.
how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I had kind of a busy week, so I didn't get as far into, I didn't get too much done in terms of projects, but I got to see some live music and I got to play some music, and I'm going to play some music live tonight. So yeah,
Awesome. I should I
sometimes
should go
it's
down
unpredictable.
I should go down and take a picture and then we could post it.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
you know? Yeah, I got a few things done. I've been trying to, you know, detox on dopamine, like
Mm.
give up the social media and then and it's kind of working. I've just been ignoring social media as much as possible and then I just go do something else. So
That's good.
yeah,
Um,
though it's not making the quality of the work any better. It's just because I effed up a few things. I made this like I was working on one of those um what is it like this is the 22/7,
mhm.
it's like a Big Muff, right, with the inverters. And then you can see these holes are a little oval, right? Because I drilled them and they were like, I don't know why, but the switch was in the right place, but then the knobs were moved like about an eighth of an inch down. And so I had to get the file out and kind of file these holes until it fit.
Oh wow. And is that from a drill guide that came with the schematic?
Well, this is the PCB that I made.
Okay. Okay.
So I made it. I think I didn't remember or I forgot, but I guess I must have moved the pots a little bit on the board when I made the new version of the board. And I
Hmm.
didn't even think of it or I forgot about it. I didn't think that I did it, but I guess I must have because they were off because I used the old drilling diagram. So, and actually that board was screwed up too. So that was like another thing is I made the boards and I screwed them up. I missed a couple ground, like the ground plane. It's hard to describe, but the ground plane was kind of screwed up. So there's a couple parts that should go to ground but weren't connected to anything. So I just threw those away and fixed my mistakes. And then I'm going to order some more boards. So, that was actually one of the boards I sent to you and Steve. So don't build that one because it's
Okay.
screwed up. You could fix it if you really wanted to. Like you could run a couple jumpers and it would work. But
Okay. I might wait for your instructions, but I wanted to ask you, what is that board? What does it do?
oh, it's like a Big Muff, but it uses these inverters in place of the transistors. So instead of
Oh, okay.
transistors, it has these CMOS inverters.
Right.
And
Yeah, I know Steve was excited about that one.
yeah, it's a cool project because the CMOS inverters, they kind of overdrive like tubes.
Hmm.
So like the transistors don't do that. Like so they tend to hard clip and so you get like a less pleasing distortion, but these kind of overdrive a little bit and they sound really good. Like that it's basically the same like the it's a chip, right? But it has some parts in it that are very similar to what's in the super hard on and some other like kind of amp like distortion pedals, like the Blackstone what is it? Blackstone Devices MOSFET overdrive
Okay.
that one uses the same chip. So it's a cool project. I think it's a really good sounding Big Muff. So I like that project. It's by Runoff Groove. But I screwed up the boards this time. The last one worked perfect, and then when I got them, I redid them and modified. I kind of tried to clean them up and make some small improvements, and then I actually screwed it up this time around. So anyway, so I fixed them and I ordered some new boards. So maybe it'll be a few weeks and then I'll have those.
Okay. Yeah, I guess regression is always a danger when you make revisions like that.
Yeah, I just kind of do it casually, but I think I gotta get um, a little more strict about like my version control and like how I track changes. So I did that, and then actually this is the week of like screwing shit up. So I got this Big Muff board, right? And this works, like the board works and this pedal works, but when I milled this pedal, this red knob should be the volume, but I labeled it tone. And then this is labeled volume, but this should be the tone, or actually this one over here, it should be the tone knob. So I screwed this up too. The box looks great though, and the
It
board
does look
works
great.
good. Actually, speaking of that, you know what I did? I think this is the cool project. Like I want to get people to try and build this because, what I did was I made the board, but the parts list on the board, like all the parts are identified. It's like R1, R2, R3, right? C2, C7, right? All the parts are labeled that way. And they're all labeled according to the schematics on the Big Muff page.
Mhm.
So there's a guy, it's like, I don't know, the website's like KitRay something, right? And they have just like a whole page about the history of the Big Muff, all the different versions of it. And there's one section that's all schematics of every version of the Big Muff. There must be like 20 or more schematics there, right? And all the schematics the parts are numbered in the same way. So C1 is always the same part on every schematic. So what I did is I built my PCB using the same part numbers, right? So that way you can get the board and then you can go to the KitRay site and look at the Big Muff schematics and then just pick which version you want to make. You're like, I want to do the 1968 triangle version, or I want to build the Green Russian from 1972 or whatever it is, right?
That's
And
great.
yeah, it's super cool. I think it's a good project, right? Because now you can just
Mhm.
have your choice. You can just build it from the parts. I added a couple extra parts, like I put an LED on it and I put some power filtering and a reverse polarity protection diode. But otherwise those parts are like kind of not on the regular numbering.
Right. It'd be cool if there was a way that you could like make an ordering template. So you could just say, like say there's a drop down menu on a page on like a Taita or stomp box parts or whatever, and you can just choose what pedal you want to order and then hit a button and it would send you all the parts for that project. That would be really cool. That's
Yeah.
what I would like.
Huh. You know what site will let you do that is Mauser.
Okay.
Mauser lets you create a bill of materials and people can like you can put a link to that bill of materials so anybody can click the link and then they'll just get like a shopping cart, or basically it'll be the bill of materials like a list of parts and then you can click at the bottom, you can say add to my shopping cart. So
That's great.
yeah, so if someone made, I mean, I could do this, I guess, but I'm not going to do it today. It would be a lot of work, right? Because it just takes some time to do every version of the Big Muff in there. But you could do that. You could make a bill of materials for each version. Maybe we could team up with like Stomp Box parts or something.
Right. Yeah.
I'm actually really happy Steve pointed those guys out because I checked out their site and I bought some stuff from them and they're pretty good. I'd recommend them. They have germanium diodes. Those are hard to get these days and they have them there at fairly reasonable prices. They're like
Oh,
$1
cool.
for some and 60 cents for others. Buck for a diode is expensive, but 60 cents expensive, but not as bad.
Yeah. So are they all rated and stuff? Like somebody's, measured them and determined what their stats are?
I guess so. They have different part numbers. So there's some are like, 1N60s and some are 1N34s. Like the 1N34A is like the kind of the popular one. And those are going for like $1. But the
Okay.
1N60s and some of the others they have a bunch of different weird like Russian. It looks like they got a bunch of like old stock parts, this is just bought like somebody's old bin of leftover germanium diodes.
Cool. So you ordered some stuff from them and
I did. I haven't gotten it yet though.
did they give you a sort of an estimate of when it will show up?
Yeah, I can't remember. It should be like next week, maybe, I think.
Okay, that's not bad. That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah. You know what I did too? Speaking of parts, I ordered some pots from Taita a couple weeks ago and I just got them in the mail. And I was kind of surprised, right? So I don't know if you can quite see this, but there's something missing, right? And what it is that little tab.
Yeah.
Like, so they have these Taita brand pots that are basically the 16 millimeter pot, but they're missing the tab. And then they're on the back, they have like a clear dust cover, and it says like they've kind of this little Tida name like etched in the bottom of the pot, you know. I don't know if you can see that, but these look kind of nice actually. I kind of like they look like kind of good quality, you know. And then I
Right.
like the idea of not having to break the tabs off. I don't know how many thousands of those I've broken off, you know. Like I don't know that anybody ever leaves the tab on, you know.
No, I mean, it seems like there's certain, like if you're like building a Strat or something like that, and your pick guard has a little hole for that tab, but other than that, they're not really used for anything.
Yeah, right. You know, so anyway, so I got those in the mail, and I started building up a couple things that were left over because I needed some pots, you know. Hey, what are you working on?
Well, I'm not working on anything. I didn't actually get any soldering time in today, but I changed or updated the firmware on my Microfreak, so I was playing around with that, and they added some new oscillators. Yet again, um, if anybody doesn't know, the Microfreak is a kind of all-in-one semi-modular synthesizer, and yeah, every time they update the firmware, they add new oscillators. So this time they added harm and saw X, and I think I hadn't maybe downloaded the last firmware update, so I also got bass. um, so yeah, you can check those out on the Arturia website if you're interested. But yeah, this is a $400 device that does it all, which is really cool, for anyone who's not patient enough to assemble all the parts needed to do, modular synthesis. What did we say? Like maybe $1,000 to just get your bare minimum modular synthesis rig.
Maybe, yeah, yeah, maybe $1,000, you could probably do it cheaper. There's probably some cheap options out there, but I would say, like, if you had $1,000, you could have a pretty good looking synthesizer when you're done. Fairly not giant, but
It wouldn't have all the features of the Microfreak.
yeah, it wouldn't be Tonto.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, the Microfreak has that little keyboard. Like that would be a hard one to get because usually like modules, the larger they are, they cost more. And so the keyboard module is always going to be a little bigger because you have to have the keys,
Right.
So those are usually going to be more costly. Actually, let me ask you about the Microfreak. So what do you think about the build quality?
Well, I think it's great. I mean, it feels very solid. I mean, it's all plastic, but it definitely feels, it doesn't feel like a Casio keyboard they buy at Target for, $80 or whatever. It feels like a serious piece of gear for a gigging musician or, home studio musician.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it would be cool to have two of them to you could put them side by side and then just have them tuned to different octaves, and have maybe different sounds for your left hand and your different sounds on the right hand. But I don't really spend a lot of time playing the keyboard. I really, I kind of use the arpeggiator and do a lot of knob twiddling.
Nice.
But yeah, I totally worth it. Totally worth the $400.
Yeah, it looks super cool. Like I think as a new device and as like an instrument, like I think it's a cool instrument. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like it's got a lot in it, and I like that it can be updated. Like a lot of people would argue like, oh, I really want my analog synthesizer sounds, but I think nowadays like the digital stuff sounds just as good. And even in the guitar realm, like digital effects are like pretty amazing these days. They
Yeah.
just sound really good.
Yeah, I saw a interview with Nick Rhodes from Duran Duran not too long ago, and he was talking about how he really loves the warmth of certain analog synthesizers that he has in his collection. But he did call out Arturia as, it's like being one of the, the new digital creators that sounds really good to him. He just doesn't really, operate in that realm.
Yeah.
Kind of big time.
Yeah, I think they have some cool stuff, you know, right? I
Yeah.
think and I think that Microfreak is like actually kind of a big cool project that they came out with, right? You know,
Hmm. Yeah, I highly recommend it.
it's kind of amazing. Yeah. Hey, speaking of synthesizers, I saw this article on Bandcamp about the world's largest synthesizer. It was like Robin Hatch, I think, was like, the tagline was Robin Hatch plays the world's largest synthesizer, right? But it was basically it was TONTO, the giant synthesizer from I always associate it with, with the Phantom of the Paradise. Pardon me, right? So I always think of that when I see it, and the guy's he's got that weird helmet on, and he's playing,
Yep,
you
Paul
know.
Williams.
Yeah, well, Paul Williams is the devil,
Oh, okay, okay.
right?
He's not the guy who actually operates the synthesizer.
Yeah, I forget who plays that guy. It's been so long since I've seen the movie, but I always think of that movie when I see it. But I think that synthesizer's more significant not for being the world's largest. And then I think also like, what is large in synthesizer realm? I think like it
Hmm.
wouldn't really be physical size nowadays. It would be more like how many oscillators and VCAs you have, right? Because like just physically large might not mean anything. Like a lot of those old Moog synthesizers, they might have like one or two oscillators and just a couple other things, but they take up your whole desk. Nowadays you can get all that packed into the Microfreak, and
Hmm.
more, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, the modular synthesis, like all of that stuff is really small. And, as you pointed out, like the knobs are closer together and um, like really you want access to as many different controls as possible to be, like aimed at you. And that was what was great about Tonto was that all of those devices are aimed at the controller. Um,
Oh yeah, it's almost like they made like the whole Tonto experience is like the room. It's not like, it isn't just like a thing that sits on your desk. It's like, the walls. You just stand in the middle of it and you just reach out and play. I don't know if people have seen Tonto. Let's see if I think I have a picture of it over here.
yeah, I mean, it's really a great looking, like the furniture um, that they or built it around or built around it. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's
that's super
there's
cool.
there's Tonto right there. It's kind of cool, right? I think there's a lot more to this too. There's like a few other things, and they kind of wired it all in the back too.
Right. Yeah, there's one thing I read on that article on Bandcamp about they use parts of an airplane
Yeah,
as like an airplane, like a jet joystick or something like that to um, control
yeah,
pitch.
yeah. I forget, but yeah, there was some like the wiring harness or something like they used some wiring out of like a 747 or I forget what it was. But yeah, it's kind of funny. But I guess back in those days, you weren't like, oh, I'll just order my parts from Mauser. It didn't exist back then. You just had to take what you could get and find it where you could.
You're right. Yeah, probably get parts at a junkyard or something like that, or
Yeah,
um,
yeah, army
decommissioned
surplus,
airplanes.
right? Yeah. But anyway, so I thought that was an interesting article. You know, Actually, speaking of Bandcamp and music, you turned me on to that new Boris song.
Oh, right, right, right.
Yeah, and it has me totally like flummoxed because like the video is good, the music is great. Like I listened to the song a couple times, like I went back and listened to it again. I probably listened to it 4 times now, because it was a pretty good song. It's got a good kind of stoner rock vibe, and they're just kind of rocking out. But then it's a really good piece of music. But then the band, like Boris, they're a three piece, right? I mean, they do a lot of collaboration, right? But then this is a three piece, and then everybody's wearing like this anime makeup, so I can't recognize them, except for I recognize the black Les Paul. So like that was
Hmm.
like the one band member that stood out to me, right? Was the guitar, but then it looks like just Wata, like the guitar player, is in this incarnation of Boris that did the song, but then the other three members are not, but I can't really tell, you know, they're like different people. And then they put this song up, like they label it Boris, and then they put that picture of that band on their Bandcamp page. So I'm like, what are they trying to tell me here? You know, I need more information, you know?
Yeah. I mean, maybe it is some kind of like Boris cosplay or something like that by three women or something. But yeah, that is very weird now that I've seen, you know, um the old stuff by Boris. If anybody knows what's going on. So I was introduced to this video through Earthquaker Devices. They put out a commercial on YouTube. And I think Steve mentioned that also, that it was an Earthquaker Devices commercial for some pedal.
Yeah, they have some new pedal, and then Boris is they're kind of sponsoring the pedal or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what's funny is like I have mixed feelings about that. Like I like the one thing that they're like they kind of have a deal and they're not really putting the advertising in your face, you know. But then I'm like, you know, why does a pedal need a whole song to go with it? You know, like, right? You know what I mean? Maybe it does. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think that's very unusual, I think, in pedals.
Yeah.
Like actually I don't think I've ever seen a commercial for a pedal on YouTube. It's usually, you know, things that I'm completely uninterested in.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it kind of taints the music for me a little bit. Like, oh, they made the music to like, you know,
They commercialized it.
yeah, right. In like kind of an extreme way, like it's for a product, not even just trying to sell themselves, you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
I'll let it slide because it was pretty downplayed. Like there weren't any like giant shots of the pedal and like, you know, graphic, you know, buy now like buttons or
Yeah.
anything all over the place, you know. Yeah, and then
Yeah,
the
it doesn't
music was
say like
great too. So
Earthquaker Devices in the background or anything.
yeah, right, you know. So I'll forgive them that because God, you know, like you get on YouTube nowadays and like everything's an advertisement. You're just like
Hmm.
you can't watch anything without an advertisement. I mean, I know that you're getting it all for free, but still, you know, geez, there's
I
just
mean,
so many
I
things.
think a lot of musicians, we go out of our way to watch. They're not exactly ads; they're more of reviews. But sometimes, you know, like if you go on JHS pedals, all due respect, those are basically commercials for JHS pedals that are like, you know, 30 minutes long. Even though he's talking about other pedals that he didn't build, but you know, I think, you know, that whole thing is sort of uh, I'm sure that serves as really good PR for his products.
Yeah, I'll kind of forgive him. I feel like they don't really put the sales pitch like into the show so strong,
No,
but
I
it is
agree. I agree.
definitely it definitely is marketing for JHS, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even like alternatively, you could say, you know, like Phil McKnight is a commercial for, you know, like, I don't know, Wilkinson um tuners or whatever, like all those upgrades and things like that, or PRS, or, you know, all those things that he reviews and talks about on this show. People buy stuff because he's, you know, that he's said favorable things about it.
Yeah. Well, then he gets all the stuff for free too. Like I think they sent him a lot of stuff. I mean, maybe not every time, but I think a lot of times he gets, you know, and usually they're pretty honest and they'll say, "Oh, these people sent me this for free, but I'm in no way obligated to say nice things about it, you know, if I don't like it, you know."
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I recall some of the, you know, some episodes of 60 Cycle Hum recently where they've sent things to him and asked him to review them. And he's like, yeah, but I can be totally honest about it. Um, I don't know. I kind of think the state of gear right now is that there's a lot of really great gear that you can get affordably. So, you know, they're not taking a huge risk by sending him this stuff. You know, I
Yeah.
think like some of those like Donner guitars things that they sent into Trogley, and he's like, yeah, these are, you know, these are not very good. But if you only have like $150 or whatever, you know, I don't know. That's about the most brutally honest that I've seen in terms of gear reviews lately.
Yeah. I think it's okay. I mean, I mean, like it, as long as, I don't know, we'll see where it goes. It is kind of, I mean, it's okay to be nice, but you want to be honest too, right? You know, yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
where that's gonna go. Yeah, because there is kind of a thing like, like maybe they're not gonna pay me or they're not gonna send me any more gear if I say something, not nice about their stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, if let's say for instance, like Guitar Fetish decided that they wanted to put money into marketing, they started sending me stuff to review. Um, I've already, I think I've already, like put a lot of content on the channel about certain things on Guitar Fetish that are worth the money, and usually it's like bridges, tremolos, pickups, um, tuners. Did I say that? But I've also had some experiences with Guitar Fetish stuff where I'd be like, no, don't bother with this. And I wouldn't ever want to change that. I'd never want to, I guess, if they said just if you don't like the thing, don't put the video up. I don't think that would be fair either. I think like if they're gonna send me stuff, or if I'm gonna buy stuff and it doesn't work out, I kind of want to put that out there because
Yeah, you don't want someone else to buy it if it's not any good.
right.
Yeah. Actually, I think the flip side of this too is that, besides advertising, there's kind of an R&D side to it maybe. So like if someone sent you a product and you were like, you know what, this isn't very good, and here's the things that I don't like about it. And then
Hmm.
we'll follow that up with a couple suggestions on like where I would improve things, right? And here's like a list of 6 points that could be improved. And that could be really useful to like a manufacturer, right? Just to get some honest feedback and some R&D from somebody. And I feel like that's a job you could pay for.
Right.
So maybe they get some of that too. There's probably some of that going on behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, yeah. But I've also seen things like that on channels. I can't remember if it was Trogley or if it was like Daryl Braun or somebody like that, but they were like making suggestions to the manufacturer on their actual channel, so it was not behind the scenes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's fair. I think that's all right. You know,
Yeah, yeah, very
Sometimes
transparent.
maybe like in that case, maybe they weren't like they didn't get anything for free, so they were just, I'm reviewing this thing for fun, and then here's my thoughts. Maybe that would be a way to get a manufacturer to send you something too, because they would be like, wow, these people are brutally honest, and we needed that. Like hopefully they could be that honest. I mean that's a company that would be improving their product and really trying to make a better product.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff that's sold on eBay that, they're just cranking it out of some factory, and then there's, sending it on to their customers, but they're not interested in improving the product. Um,
Yeah. I think some of that stuff too isn't like when you're buying it on eBay, you're not getting it directly from the manufacturer. You're just getting it from someone who like sourced it, and they're just like, oh, I found a bunch of tuners or a bunch of parts for cheap. And so I'm going to sell them on my site that sells guitar parts. Right. So they're not actually manufacturing and designing this stuff.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think there's some of both. I think there's also, like factories that are just like cranking out, um, or maybe they make, guitar necks for some other company, but then they're like, we'll sell a few out the back. And
Oh yeah, I could see that. Actually, just to get back to the fails this week. Speaking of products that need improvement, I forgot there was one other fail that I had. I I got this PCB and I put it in the. I was talking to Steve about doing a
mhm.
project, right? And so I got a blank and I put it in the mill and I designed a board and I it's going to be a two-sided board. So I milled this side and then I flipped it over, and I don't know if you can see it over here, but like if you look at the little outlines there, they miss the hole. They're all like
Mhm.
offset by a couple of millimeters. So I failed on that too. I was having a fail week. like, you know,
Yeah, I think it's a phase of the moon or something like that. It seems like it's been a strange week for everyone.
I think you're right. I think it was like a something Scorpio moon, like a,
Oh,
you know,
isn't that the name of Casey's band?
yes, yeah, but it's like a something. It isn't like a Scorpio moon. It's like a something Scorpio moon. I forget, like
Hmm,
a new Scorpio moon or something like that,
okay.
Yeah, and then what I did too is I gouged the bed of the mill. Like not
Ah,
only did I screw up the PCB, I screwed up the bed of the mill. Actually, it's not that bad. I just drilled a hole in it because I was milling a box and then I took the flat, like there's like they call it the sacrificial bed, which I
hmm,
sacrificed right there.
okay.
I put that back in and then I forgot to set the height. So then it thought that the bed was like a half an inch shorter than it was. So it just drilled all the way through the PCB. Like that's why there's a hole in this corner, right? It's like drilled all the way through and into the bed, you know. Yeah.
Hmm,
Actually, speaking of like quality, so and here's the thing, I bought a couple of these Eurorack modules, right? And these are by a company called 2HP, right? So 2HP. And what they
hmm,
do is they make, like, HP stands for horizontal pitch, and it's like a unit. So like when you buy a Eurorack module, the width of them is measured in HP. And I forget what an HP is. It's about like 5 millimeters or something. It's like a little smaller than a centimeter, right? And you know, usually like a 1 HP module is too narrow, but 2 HP is about as small as you can get something. It's about a centimeter wide, right? Usually modules are about like 4 HP to 12 or 10 or 20. They can be larger too, right? But anyway, I bought a couple of these 2 HP modules a while back, and they're kind of like an engineering kind of marvel, right? They're super narrow. Everything's
hmm.
on this board on the back, right? You know, except if you look here, the board is just mounted like right by the header. There's like a little, header right here, here, and here. So it's a little bit flimsy. I don't know if you can see this, like it's a little wiggly right there. And
Yeah.
I bought a delay and a reverb and they sound okay. I don't have any problems with them, but then I was like, I don't know, I just felt like they feel like a little flimsy. So I think I'm gonna sell these. Like
Okay.
I'm gonna sell them, get rid of these.
I mean, once they're in your box, then it's not a problem, right?
Yeah, maybe. I feel like I kind of open up the box and move stuff around. So, like I get in there, plus like this one I was a little scared to put it on the far edge because there's a metal frame and it's so thin it feels like it could get pushed up against the frame and maybe short out or something. So
Mhm.
anyway, I took these out. There's a pretty good market for Eurorack modules. You can kind of sell them online, like people buying. I bought like a lot of my modules used. Like,
Right.
I don't buy them new if I can help it.
So are all of the devices that this company makes, are they all 2 HP?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah. They even have like a rack. It looks like a lunchbox, like one of those tin lunch boxes, right?
Hmm.
And it's just all 2 HP modules. Like, it's like, so you have a whole bunch of them in this space, about this big, right? You know. Um, yeah, I don't know. I just felt like I don't know, they just feel like a little flimsy. I don't know. And then they're a little tight to get your fingers in there. So then I was like, I think I'm gonna get rid of these. And I just wanted like a reverb and a delay to add some ambience. So like if I'm doing a patch, I can send it through the reverb and delay and then out, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
So I actually bought a 4 HP module that has like kind of a DSP in it that does a bunch of effects, and it has like reverb delay, like combo is there's a bunch of effects that are different reverb and delay combinations. So I got one of those used on Mod Wiggler. So I got that, and I'm going to sell these two.
Okay, cool. So are the 4 HPs, the 4 HP effect that you got, is that made by 4 HP?
No, it's Happy Nerding.
Happy Nerding. That's a great name for a company.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Yeah. It's pretty good. The knobs on that one's at 4 HP. You saw how wide the 2 HP one, like 4 HP is like this wide. It's like
Yeah.
not very big. It's like the width of like a quarter, it's not very big.
Yeah.
So
But you could use full size pots, right?
you can, yeah, you can, but the knobs are really, it has 4 knobs on it and they're kind of tight. So it's a little bit, it's a little awkward still to turn the knobs, but it feels a lot more sturdy. So I kind of like that, It's actually the thing I got, it's called FX Aid. And it's interesting because they have a website and you can configure it. So it has like, I forget, like 32 presets. And so you can pick and choose from the website what presets you want. And they have like 100 or more on the site, and you can pick the 32 that you want to download, and you just download them into the module.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah,
So
so
you connect it to your Mac and then you load it up.
I haven't done that yet, but apparently you just play audio. It's kind of like, I don't know if you ever played with one of those old computers like a TRS-80 that had like a cassette that you put in.
No, I haven't.
Oh, well, they do that. You'd plug it, all the programs would be on a cassette, and you'd play the cassette and it would be like, it would just sound like noise, but that would be the digital data loading onto the computer. These are the same way. You just plug like an audio cable into your computer or your phone, and then you play the audio into the device. Like you put it in the update mode. It's got 2 buttons, so I think you hold them down for 10 seconds, and then it goes into this mode, and you just play the audio, into.
Oh, that's cool. So it's not even USB. It's just like audio into anything.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's kind of cool, So anyways, I haven't experimented with that yet, but maybe I'll do that in the future. I just know that it does it. It has a bunch of reverb delay effects kind of built into it. So I was just screwing around with those right now, just experimenting.
Very cool. Yeah, I saw that one of the new modules or the new oscillators for the Microfreak, you can import your own wave or AIF files into it, and then tweak it from there.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, I haven't done anything with it yet, but yeah, I think I think I'll try that out. That sounds like a fun little thing.
Interesting. Does it play like a sampler, or does it use the audio just to create a waveform? So in other words, like, how long an audio file, like how large a file can you put on it? Because if it's more than like a fraction of a second, then you're gonna be able to hear the audio. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just kind of skimmed it. I didn't see it on the website. I saw it on the info on their update page. But yeah, I got the impression that it was more like you could create a waveform with it rather than actually using it for the audio.
Oh, cool. Huh, that's interesting. That sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
Maybe it works with that same, because you said it had the vocoder too, so that's kind of similar to the vocoder. I saw something like the vocoder was always like fascinating. I own one and I don't really use it. I just bought it because I got it cheap at some point. There was like a closeout thing. The company was going out of business and they had these vocoders, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy one because it's cheap right now. It's like half price.
Was it like a Eurorack vocoder? Or
no, it's a rack mounted one, but it's not Eurorack. You could use it with anything. It's got like a 1/4-inch jack on the front, so you could plug your guitar into it.
Okay.
It has a an XLR input too, so you could plug a mic into it, like a microphone.
I have a pedal, like a guitar pedal that's like that, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work?
No.
Oh, we should review it.
Yeah. Well, it used to work, and then I don't know, just storage. It just died in storage.
Huh? Maybe we could fix it. I don't know. Maybe it's just something, because that a lot of times those like guitar pedals are pretty solid, but the common thing is the power jack will break, or you'll plug in reverse like a wall wart, but it's reverse power, and then it burns out like the power protection.
Oh yeah, could be something like that.
Yeah, that's like really common, or like in older pedals, like the battery clip comes loose, and that then it doesn't work, like for like obvious and not difficult to fix reasons. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, like I was always fascinated with the idea of the vocoder. Like it's pretty neat. I read something recently about the history of vocoders, right? And you know, it's interesting. Originally, they were made by the military, and the idea was the opposite of what we use them for. So we use it to make an instrument sound like a voice, so you can hear
Hmm.
your voice through the instrument. But the military made it to obscure your voice. So the idea
Right.
was to turn your voice into something that was unintelligible, and then on the other end, they decode it so you could hear it again.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, right. So it was for to
That's
communicate, secretly.
that's just seems it seems so obvious.
Yeah.
That Kraftwerk is on tour
Oh,
again.
really?
And speaking of the vocoder, and I was looking at their Wikipedia page,
Yeah.
and there was some mention of that they had um, a vocoder built for them, because at the time that they were doing that, there weren't really any commercially available vocoders. So they had one that was custom built. I don't know anything about it, but uh, obviously that was kind of pioneering. I mean, that because Kraftwerk had that developed, it became a musical instrument. Uh, I don't know that anybody was using a vocoder in music before them.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, they could have been the first easily. Actually, speaking of Kraftwerk, my other favorite Japanese band, Poly Six, they
Hmm.
have like a band called Vocoder,
Huh.
right? And it's like I think it's all the same members, but what they do is they it's basically like an homage to Kraftwerk. So they all wear like they dress up like kind of like Kraftwerk, like they all have like red button-up shirts with a tie and
Hmm.
like black pants, and they're all neat. They look like they just came from the office, right? And
Great.
then they all play like synthesizers. Actually, I guess the one guy he plays guitar, but they all sing through vocoders, and the guy playing the drums has like an electronic drum, like he just has some drum pads and he's playing the drum pads.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and they do a bunch of weird songs, kind of Kraftwerky in style. Not exactly the same, but it's kind of a nod to Kraftwerk.
Mhm. Cool. I'll check that out. Um, have you heard Neil Young's Trans album?
No, I haven't heard that. Or
That's
maybe, but
that
not
that's
recently anyway, not for a long time.
yeah. I mean, I think that came out in like this 1970 or something like that. It's really old.
Yeah, it
But
kind of rings
it's
a bell, but I can't recall right now.
that is his kind of like, it's not necessarily a tribute to Kraftwerk. Maybe it was an effort to piss off his record company or something like that. But that's pretty good. It's like the song Transformer Man. Um, it's Neil Young using a vocoder and a
Oh, cool.
synthesizer instead of guitar.
Cool. I'm gonna go check that out. That sounds like a good one to research.
Yeah.
This week I was just listening to Boris because I like that new Boris song. So then I was exploring some old Boris. They're kind of weird. They've been around for like a long time,
Hmm.
and I guess they were. It's weird. It's like Poly Six has this Devo vibe about them. So essentially, I guess they were in high school and they saw Devo and they said, "We want to do that." And so they have like the weird glasses and the jumpsuits, with the names on them, just kind of like Devo.
Hmm.
Um, and then the music has a little nod to Devo too, it's kind of crazy. And then Boris, I guess they heard the song Boris by the Melvins, and that was their inspiration. And then they just took it, they do this like they do a lot of like kind of doom drone kind of stuff, but then they also mix in like a lot of weird stuff. Like they'll do like kind of like a dream pop or like shoegazer kind of song, and then they'll do like kind of a hardcore punk song, like right? And
Yeah.
then they'll do an album that's like all just like just droning guitar for 20 minutes. They did one album that was, because I was reading about it recently. I was trying to catch up. I was like, okay, I gotta catch up on my Boris now. And I was reading that they had done an album that was basically um like it was like one album that's just like, I forget, it's just like 2 songs and it's all just drones. Like they're just like 30 minutes a drone or 20 minutes a drone each song, right? But then
Interesting.
there's 2 albums, and the idea is that you're supposed to play both of them together at the same time in stereo. So there's like
Oh,
4
wow.
layers to it. But you have to actually have 2 stereos and then
Yeah.
both albums, right? I kept thinking like I wonder if you could somehow like mix those 2 together and have like a single mix so you could just listen to it on headphones or something, but maybe it's not the same thing, you
No, but I'm sure it exists, but you can only get it in Japan. Like
know.
that would be one of those things like, yeah, it's totally exists. Lots of people are listening to it, but you can't get it unless you're in Japan.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a little frustrating because one, like their new album, right, is like, or the new song is like totally weird. I'm like, I don't know even know who the band members are, and then they're kind of put this picture up of the 4 band members, and the 2 of the band members from the old band don't seem to be in it. But then maybe
Yeah.
it's just a one-off, but then they put the picture on their Bandcamp page, like, it seems like it's totally official thing. I don't know.
Yeah. But
You
then
know?
there was that article that I saw that said that, that, they're one of those long running, all original bands and they've never had a lineup change and they, have like a 20-year career or something like that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, more or less. Actually, there was like one, like right at the very beginning, they had 4 members, and one of the guys playing bass or guitar, like the drummer at that time left, and then one of the guys that was playing bass or guitar, he switched to drums, and then that was the 3-person lineup that's been there ever since. But at the very beginning, there was like one extra guy, and then he left.
okay.
And he played the drums originally. I don't know if they made an album then or not, but that's what I read, you know? Yeah, they're kind of weird too, because they have another, like I have an album called Heavy Rocks, you know? It's
Hmm.
pretty good. It's super, Boris, it's got like a bunch of drone kind of heavy doom kind of songs. And then there's like a hardcore kind of punk metal song that's kind of down tuned, it's kind of
Hmm.
it's very like Black Flag or something, right? But then they have another album called Heavy Rocks. So I have the purple one, and then there's a Heavy Rocks that's the orange one, but they're both called Heavy Rocks, so it's kind of confusing,
And they have different songs on them.
Yeah, yeah, they're totally different albums. Like one came out, I think, in like '96, and the other one was like 2007 or something. I
Ah,
forget
weird.
the dates.
I wonder if you play them both at the same time, if they sync up.
Maybe you're supposed to. Maybe that's what I'm missing. Right? But yeah, they're kind of like that, and they have a bunch of like weird stuff too. Like they'll do an album that's like, kind of like weird pop or something. They'll do kind of like a kind for Boris. They'll do like a weird pop album, but they do a lot of collaborations too. So they, maybe that's kind of their thing. Maybe it's like if you're in Japan and you read Japanese and you understand Japanese culture, you're like, oh yeah, they're just doing that thing that they do, and it's like it's understandable. Like here, like I'm just confused.
Right, right. Hey, didn't they do a song on that My Bloody Valentine tribute album?
I think they did. Yeah.
Yeah, it surprised me because I've always thought of Boris as a doom metal band, but then you sent me that song yesterday. That was a video with the woman like doing her makeup or something, and that was very poppy, like compared to the normal Boris.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, it's just the girl. Like it's kind of funny because it's like because I think that was sort of like their ad for Orange Amps, maybe in some
Okay.
way. I don't know, but because they're sponsored by Orange Amps, right? But it's just kind of funny because it's the girl and she's got like red hair or like orange hair, and then she's just doing normal stuff, like she's hanging out or at the cafe, or she's just like walking through the garden, or she's just sitting on the porch, and then always in the background there's like an amp stack, like an orange like a two like 4x12 cabinets or the 120-watt head or whatever it is on top, like just sitting in the background in the garden, like or she buys a drink from a soda machine, it's like a vending machine, and then sitting like the vending machine is like this big square thing about the size of the amplifier, and the amplifier is just sitting right next to the machine, you know It was really well done though, actually. I like that video because the amp wasn't in your face. It was always like, you kind of had to find it, you know, like sometimes like when the shot with the vending machine, the amp is kind of up close here and you see the vending machine like this, but then the amp is just kind of right here and you just kind of catch the edge and the like the one side and the grill cloth, you know, and you're like, oh yeah, that's the amp, you know.
Right. Yeah. I have to say, I didn't notice it because I was watching it on my phone and I was, multitasking and I'm like, oh yeah, there's the amp in the background, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I didn't just send it to you for the girl. I sent it to because of the amp.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
where I'm
I
at, you know.
I was watching it for a while and I was like, it's just like a weird like photo shoot. It's like it's because they were all still images, right? There
Yeah.
was no
Oh
video.
no, I think it's video. Like there's a little bit of motion, not a lot, but it's just like she'll like pick up a cup or something. You know,
Okay.
there isn't much motion, or she'll just kind of turn her head, you know.
Hmm.
Or she's just sitting there, but then the leaves on the trees are moving, and then there's an amp like over here, like against the wall of the building, you know, like yeah, you kind of have to look for it. But that's why I sent it, just because it was so fun. Like there's just this amp in the background everywhere, you know. It was a good idea. It was kind of genius, very creative, you know,
Hmm.
like I like stuff like that. That's for me, like, you know, if they could make advertising like that, like for everything instead of what you normally get, I would be
Uh,
happier, you know.
yeah, I hate just like when an ad comes on while I'm watching YouTube. It's you can tell that it's an ad because this change in tone from like whatever you're watching, the ad's going to be different. It's going to be like um I don't know. It's like it's ad guy talk. It's like there's certain way that spokesmodels talk that just irritates me.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, well, because they're trying to make an ad, right? So they went to the ad book and they just followed all the instructions, you know, like they're not getting creative, they're not evolving, you know. I think you
Yeah.
can get like really creative ads that are really effective, you know, if you get creative and you're like, I'm not going to follow the formula, I'm going to do something different, you know, and like,
Right.
you know. So there's
Yeah.
some ads, like sometimes I see some ads and I'm like, this ad is good. Like I hate to say it, but it got my attention in a good way.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I
and
mean,
then
it
some ads are
sticks
just
out.
so in your face, you're just like, get out of here. I can't stand this.
Right. Well, I think there's this philosophy with advertising that um, people are going to your thing is going to stick in somebody's brain if it's annoying rather than if it's like really creative. It's easier to be annoying than it is to be creative and artful. So a lot of ads just they just default to annoying.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, hey, let me share my screen really quick here. Let me show you.
Okay.
Speaking of that, you know, so I told you I made that Big Muff PCB, right? So I set up my blog and I got this page, build a Big Muff, right? And so you can go to PCBWay, you can order boards, you know, they'll look like this. And then these are the parts that are not on the Big Muff schematic. So I kind of mark them here, like what you need. But then otherwise you'll go to this like Big Muff page. Well, I should make that a link, right? And then here you can just look at any of the schematics. And so like C1 is the same on every one of these schematics, right? And R2 is the same part, you know?
That's great.
Yeah, so then you can, like, I think the one I built here is this first one. I built the, you know, the Big Muff version 1, number 66, you know, or 1966, number 5, triangle. I think it's a triangle Big Muff, right? So I built one of these, but you know, speaking of like you know, stuff, right? How stuff works and how you make like a better quality product and, you know, that kind of thing, right? For some reason, I thought this was maybe related to the advertising, but one of the things I did was I made an image here for the wiring. So here's how you wire up your part right there. And then I made a drilling guide. So here is this, right? And so one of the things, I kind of set this up so you like, these will be 6mm holes for the pots, right? And then this would, I mark this for a 5 or a 3mm drill. So you could do a small LED or a big one, right? But one of the things I did here is that like when I put the board together, I placed the pots like where I thought it would be easiest to run the traces on the PCB. So that moved the volume pot to the lower center, right? You
Okay.
know, for some reason, like when I think, I always want to find the volume knob here or here. So then I was wondering, should I redo that and move it? Because like, is it more important for, mechanical reasons, like to position the things, or should we put that aside and make it more important for ergonomic reasons, or user interface design,
That would be a great thing for people to comment on in the comments section below.
Yeah.
I think, I have kind of mixed feelings about it because, if you have a collection of pedals from a bunch of different people, different companies, you might have some that where the volume knob's on the right, some where the volume's on the left. And then of course, tons of pedals that don't have a volume knob at all. So
yeah. Yeah, I've been like, lately I've been putting the red knob is the volume knob.
Yeah, color code, I think is, that works.
Yeah. So then here's the other thing too, so I also made a design guide. So like if you bought a PCB and you were like, hey, I'm going to build my PCB and make my version of Big Muff. So what I did was I kind of drew out the box here, like and kind of marked where the things are going to go. And then the circles here, the red circle is the hole in the box, right? But then these outer circles, I kind of size them based on like common knob diameters. So like, I think these knobs right here are 14.5 millimeters diameter. So that would be like this size, Actually, oops, I made a mistake. I should put these in order, right? I think I swapped the 18 and the 14
Oh, okay.
Right?
Good eye.
Yeah. But anyway, so like the small knobs are like, 12.5 millimeters, and then 14 and then 18. And then those kind of like spaceship or flying saucer knobs with the skirt, they can be like 23.5 millimeters, but this will fit those too. So those are, those would fit on here,
Yeah.
But anyway, so I put this out there and I thought like maybe this would be kind of nice for people to like envision like what their thing is going to look like and maybe help them ordering parts too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think it's good to think about this kind of stuff with ergonomics. I wonder like if the guy who added the knob in between the two knobs on Kurt Cobain's Jaguar, did he think about how close together those knobs were going to be, or he's just, oh, there's room in there, I'll just stick another knob? But like, what if you got your finger stuck in between the knobs while you're like playing a song
in the middle of the show?
Yeah,
like right at the guitar solo,
right?
Yeah, what if? Oh man, it could be bad news. Or maybe, maybe that's where you smash the guitar,
Yeah, that's probably what happened every time like Kurt Cobain got his finger stuck in between the knobs on his Jaguar. He'd smash it. Although I don't think he smashed that guitar.
Yeah, that's the real reason, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so the other thing I did too is instead of using those 16 millimeter pots like this, right? Like these are popular. Maybe I should have stuck with these, but I chose to go with these 9 millimeter pots, these little green ones. You can see them in the picture there, I don't know why. I think I went with these because they're pretty cheap. I think those other ones are a little cheaper, but these are pretty solid. They support the PCB, and you can get these like in bulk, like from China. They're like super cheap. So if you're going to do like, I feel like all the professional stuff that you get uses these, and it doesn't really use these as much, that said, I haven't done any actual like, research on that, but anyway, yeah, so that was that project there, and I guess I gotta update this because I gotta fix that link and then fix the numbers are not right on that picture,
Well, okay, so you've been busy.
Yeah, well, that project was like a couple weeks in the making, right? Like maybe a month or two. Like I started it like maybe last month around the 20th, right? I got it and I uploaded it, and then it took a few weeks for the delivery of the PCBs, and then last week I built the box and I milled the box and I missed the labels, right? But then, and then I wired it up last week, right? So it took that was about a month,
Okay.
most of it was just waiting for shipping, right? Actually, speaking of the position of the volume knob, this is where it is on the DS1,
Aha. Okay.
right? The
Well,
DS1 puts the thing down here, right?
yeah. So there's
Like,
precedent there.
yeah, I don't know if I have a DS1. I do over here. Let me go grab one, right? Actually, here, I gotta, let's talk about what Boss does, right? So what does
Okay.
Boss do? Well, here's a DS1. I think you can see like level right there, right? Is the center knob, which is actually, it's pretty tight too. It's like hard to
Yeah.
get in there, right? But that's the level knob. But, and then they put the tone over here and the distortion knob on this side, right? So that's
Right.
distortion, right? This, my friend, is the SD1. Okay, and then I'm going to point out that they put the drive here in the same spot as the distortion, but then they swap the tone and the level, and so the level knob is here now, and tone is in the middle.
It's weird that they don't have a style guide, or a design guide that they just switch it up whenever they feel like it.
Yeah, I kind of wonder, and then here, just some of my own boxes, right? So this is the Informant. It's basically like a 1981 DRV, right? And it has the volume knob here in the same spot as the SD1, right? And then it's got the filter at the bottom. So this is the same arrangement as the SD1, okay?
Mhm.
But then when I did the 22/7, right? This is like kind of a Big Muff. You can see it's got the volume on the right side, and then the tone is down at the bottom, and the gain is like, so I swap from the SD1, they're swapped left to right. So I don't know if that matters or not. Maybe it doesn't matter, but
Well, I think it matters, but there's too many inconsistencies in the industry. So like, it's not like like Mac versus PC kind of thing where, people could complain that the OK button and the cancel button switch places on Windows all the time. uh, and Mac has it, consistent on all dialog boxes, but the pedals, there's so many different manufacturers, and even within one manufacturer like Boss, they switch it up endlessly.
yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's something I want to get Steve on again and discuss it. I don't know if you'd be interested in that, because I did a bunch of sketch drawings of the box, and I placed all the knobs and the labels and stuff. And then I was starting to think about it, and I was like, wow, if you wanted to design like a range of pedals, you design a bunch of distortion overdrives and fuzz pedals and things, and they'll have a lot of the same knobs. They'll all have a volume knob, a
Right.
lot of them will have a tone control. A lot of them will have like a gain or sustain or fuzz or distortion knob, right?
Hmm.
And then how do you want to do that? How do you want to label them? And like, because the wording kind of matters, like how do you label it, and then also like where do you place it, that was another thing, like when I was doing this, like how, where you place them, like how close they are together, because it determines like how big the knob is that you can put on them, and then
Hmm.
also like where you put the labels, right? you know
Right. Well, the labels on pedals are always too small for you to see standing up, unless you
yeah,
have really
right,
good eyes, but especially like in the dark on a stage or whatever. So
yeah,
um, you just have to get to know your pedals, and what the knobs do, what the arrangement of them is. Um, so it's not like like renting a car. You just get in the car, where the windshield wiper thing and the headlights controls, and there's sort of certain standards. You have to take some time to get to know your pedal collection.
yeah, true, yeah. Plus I don't play all the pedals all the time. Like I usually just have 3 or 4, that I'm using at the moment. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
you're not like, you don't have like 20 of these to remember. You just have like 3 of them, you know, or 4, you know,
Right.
or you have,
Yeah.
maybe you have like 4 or 5, but you're really only going to change 2 of them. You know,
Mhm.
you're only tweaking 2 of them because, you know, one of them's a tuner, you know?
Right. Or you just get your settings kind of like dialed in and then you just leave it that way. And then if you want a different sound, um, like that the Black Angels, they had a really good rig rundown where like the guy has like 4 fuzz pedals and 4 different delay pedals on his board. He just has this massive board and he just has a lot of duplication because he uses different fuzz pedals and different delay settings on different songs.
Yeah, I think I saw that interview, and he basically said, "Yeah, I have 2 of the same fuzz pedal. I just set them to different settings, and then I just turn one on. It's not like I don't want to change it on stage. I just want to, I want to have 2 different settings, you know, on 2 different pedals, so I can just step on one and get the new sound. You know,
Yeah.
it was kind of practical, you know,
Hmm.
right? Because they're not that big. It's like the size of, it's smaller than a shoe, you know,
Yeah.
so you could have just
Right.
a row of shoes on.
Yeah. It's just
You
you
know,
have to remember what all of the pedals are for, like what songs you need it for. I suppose that just
oh
becomes
yeah,
second
good one.
nature
Yeah,
when you play all the when you play your songs enough.
yeah. You got to have a lot of that tape, the gaffer's tape with like Sharpie all over it,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Hey, should we call it a day? Got anything else to say to our dedicated fans and viewers?
Well, just thanks for watching and yeah, please put your comments about interface design, which side the volume knob belongs on. Do you like consistency, um, or does the circuit make the difference? So yeah, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. That's all I got.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Great. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, I'm actually really curious to hear what people think about that, because that's something I've been, really thinking about. And like, you really got to have some feedback and like hear some thoughts from people to really kind of come up with an answer, you know?
Yeah, I think so, and I think we'll use all the data that we collect. We should have
Yeah.
Steve on as well, but we'll do the the big interface design episode one of these
Yeah.
days.
Yeah. Yeah. We got to do that. I've been dying to do that. Yeah, even the knob size, like
Yeah,
I've been thinking about the size of the knobs, right? That it kind of matters, you know?
yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll see y'all later.
I see it.
Oops, wait, let me turn that off here.